Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast live stream. A special report, breaking news. Israel and Iran are at war. I think it's safe to say that now that Iran has retaliated to Israel's stunning, historic, devastating military strikes last night and early this morning. Now Iran is responding and they launched 100 drones first. That didn't go so well. They were all intercepted, but now Iran has launched successive volleys of ballistic missiles at the world's one and only Jewish state. As I come to you around 4:10 p.m. in Dallas, Texas, it's past midnight now, past midnight in Israel and in the Middle East. The missiles are falling. Friends of mine in Israel are in bomb shelters with their families right now. The heart of Tel Aviv, the bustling metropolitan center in Israel, was struck by these Iranian ballistic missiles. You can see the footage online. It's everywhere. Several strikes across central Israel. Here's the latest on numbers in terms of casualties. 47 people, 47 Israelis have been wounded in these Iranian missile barrages. At least 2 are in critical condition. Now, the majority of these Iranian missiles, here's the silver lining, here's the good news, were intercepted. You have Israel, of course, with incredible missile defense systems like David Sling, the Arrow system, Iron Dome, but also the United States reportedly is helping Israel to intercept these incoming Iranian projectiles. That's great news. But of course, the sheer volume of these missiles, hundreds and hundreds coming through, of course, some are going to get through, sadly. That's why we have 47 people injured. Civilian areas, by the way, Iran is intentionally targeting civilian areas. It's not like Israel last night and this morning targeting Iranian military infrastructure and nuclear sites, ballistic missile factories, etc. No, Iran is going straight for the throat and attacking Israeli civilians directly and intentionally. Where's the world outcry there? I don't think you'll hear that, but that's what Iran's doing. The American THAAD system has absolutely, it's confirmed now. I'm just reading this straight off my phone, all the breaking updates, kind of like a fire hose, all the information coming at us right now. But the American THAAD system has intercepted Iranian missiles. Israel says Iran crossed a red line by intentionally firing at population centers. So let's take a deep breath, folks, because the moment is upon us. I said last night on a live stream, I went around 10 o'clock last night as this was all breaking and unfolding. The moment of reckoning is now upon us. And I've been saying that since the beginning of this year when the calendar flipped to 2025. This is the year of reckoning for Iran's nuclear program. I said one of two things are going to happen. You're going to flip on YouTube and this channel, and I'm going to be telling you, Iran just successfully tested a nuclear device. They've gone the North Korea route. Now there's no stopping them. Or I'm going to be telling you that Israeli fighter jets are in the skies and they're taking care of business. I'm happy to report it is the latter, but there's also the retaliation. And that's the big story right now. Iran's response, we knew it was going to come. In the early stages, it seemed very feckless. They launched, again, 100 drones. The drones were all intercepted, but some of these ballistic missiles clearly have gotten through and caused significant damage. Pray for Israel right now. Pray for God's divine Iron Dome to cover the Jewish state. Remember, Israel is the size of the state of New Jersey. It's a very tiny country surrounded by a sea of enemies. Iran is a vast country, and at least some of these missiles got through. Again, Israel's tiny, so keep Israel in your prayers, the land, the people, the IDF right now, who are just doing fantastic, incredible, stunning, momentous, and historic work in taking Iran's nuclear weapons program out. Let's reset. First of all, if you're just joining us, the war, and I think we could call it now a war between Israel and Iran, has escalated today. Iran is responding. Israel is promising now a massive response to that Iranian response. This is escalating. Russia is condemning Israel and says this must be solved by diplomacy. Well, the train has left the station. And it's funny to hear Vladimir Putin's regime talking about solving things by diplomacy, but I digress. We're waiting for the world condemnation to start rolling in. How is Europe going to respond? Of course, Europe is calling for de-escalation. And will the condemnations be rolling in from the UN, from the EU, those international bodies? We shall see. But I think before we do an overview of the damage Israel has done, I mean, doing the world a favor, doing the free world a favor once again, just as it did in 1981 when it took out the Iraqi nuclear reactor, Saddam Hussein's reactor, just as it did in 2007 when it took out the Assad regime's nuclear reactor in Syria. The world howled, but Israel did the right thing. Folks, we told you all along, there was no way, no matter what happened with a potential deal between the US and Iran, none of it, no way that Israel ever would allow Iran to acquire nuclear weapons. There was no chance. It's an existential threat to Israel and to the United States, by the way, because in the Iranian eschatology and ideology, which is apocalyptic and insane, they refer to Israel as the little Satan and America as the great Satan. And you might say, wow, okay, that's a lot of bluster. Well, speaking of those nuclear weapons that Iran was feverishly developing, they're about to cross the finish line. That's why Israel had to act now. They're also developing intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, that travel across oceans, across continents. Those ICBMs, which you build for one reason and one reason only, to mount them with a nuclear warhead, are meant not for Israel, not for Saudi, not even for Europe. They're meant for America, the great Satan. So Israel did the world a favor here, which brings, and the Arab world, believe me, and the Saudis condemned it today, and they always do. The Saudis, the Sunni Arab nations, many will condemn it publicly to please their civilian, their populaces, the Arab street, so-called, which is still rabidly anti-Israel for the most part. But behind the scenes, they're breathing a sigh of relief and saying, thank you, Israel. And the entire world really should be. In America, this is a big story here. Last night on my live stream, and by the way, if you missed any of our live streams here, hey, it's current events, breaking news from an unapologetically biblical perspective. In times like these, we're coming to you multiple times each day. If you like what you're hearing and you want these breaking updates, be sure to subscribe. Click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. Join over 1 million, almost 1.1 million now, watchmen and women on the wall with us here on the channel, shoulder to shoulder for such a time as this. And a quick programming note, by the way, I've got a suit and tie on. You can see I'm ready to roll here. Tonight, if you are in America especially, but you can watch anywhere live online at tbn.org, my nightly show on TBN, Stakelbeck Tonight, prime time every weeknight, Monday through Friday. We are hosting a 90-minute special, folks, beginning at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time and running all the way to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, live coverage of Israel and Iran. We'll have great guests from on the ground in Israel. Yair Pinto, our good friend from TBN Israel, will join us. The Israeli ambassador to the United States, many other important leading figures who have the inside story on what's happening. You won't want to miss that. That's tonight on TBN, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time until 9 o'clock, 90 minutes straight of live coverage. But in the meantime, we're here on YouTube. So let's continue to dig into this. I think one of the big takeaways here is the swerve. That's what I've been calling it. I called it that on the live stream last night. What do I mean by that? President Trump, he comes through again. And listen, I said all along, over the past several weeks, as these U.S.-Iran talks seem to be at times progressing, these nuclear talks, I'm thinking, what are we doing? What's the angle here? They seemed to be progressing, and President Trump was saying some positive things about, hey, I think we'll get a deal done in public. I'm thinking, oh, no, Mr. President, you pulled out of a disastrous nuclear deal back in 2018, the Obama-Iran deal. Why would you now sign up to a new one that from reports seemed to echo that deal in many ways? I didn't understand it. And I said all along to everyone, I said, look, folks, let's see what happens. There's things going on behind the scenes. And Donald Trump has earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to Israel and Iran. His first term, he was the most pro-Israel president we have ever seen. And no president was tougher on the Iranian regime than Donald Trump. I believe if he would have stayed in office in 2020, and it was God's timing for him to come back now, but if he would have stayed in office, I believe that regime may have toppled. That's the kind of pressure President Trump was putting on them. I said, the man has earned the benefit of the doubt and our trust on this, and he came through. I call it the swerve because there was intentional mixed messaging publicly by the Trump administration and the Netanyahu government, where they were, leaking things and putting forth reports, leaking it to the mainstream media, the left-wing media, which was eagerly lapping it up. that there was daylight between the United States and Israel. They weren't on the same page. They disagreed on Iran. President Trump was unhappy with Bibi. Bibi was unhappy with Trump. They had tense phone calls. The U.S. was about to agree to a deal that Israel could not abide by. It looked like it was just heading into a train wreck, but it was all intentional. It was a swerve. In reality, everything was being coordinated behind the scenes, on the same page completely, no daylight. Why is that important? Because it completely hoodwinked and pulled the wool over the eyes of the Iranian regime. How do we know? Because last night, the top Iranian commanders, several were killed. I mean, look, Hossein Salami, yes, his last name is Salami. Salami, some people say it was all baloney, but that's a dad joke, I think. But Salami's gone. He was the head of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, eliminated. The head of Iran's Air Force, eliminated. Their military chief of staff, Bagheri, eliminated, and others eliminated as well. All of their top nuclear scientists eliminated. I mean, all in one fell swoop. This was the opening salvo of the war last night. Stunning. Reminiscent of what Israel did to Hezbollah back in September 2024, but on a much grander scale and a more consequential scale, I'd argue. This was Iran, the head of the snake. But Israel had this coordinated with the U.S. all along, and Iran was lulled to sleep. How were those commanders taken out? In their beds. Because, folks, they were overconfident and arrogant. They believed the hype. They bought the swerve. In public, it looked like there was daylight between the Trump administration and Israel. It seemed unquestionable. They're not getting along. And the Ayatollahs said, Trump's a paper tiger. He won't allow Israel to strike us. We're good. The Zionist entity may want to strike, but Trump will rein them in. We're good. They were completely tricked, which is interesting because they're kind of the masters of deceit and trickery, the Iranian regime. They were completely misled, bamboozled here. And that is what, because if they thought a strike was coming, was imminent, they wouldn't have been sleeping in their own beds, the Iranian commanders. They would have been underground in bunkers. Believe me, they did not expect this last night. They were shocked. And it's not the first time, whether it's Hamas, Israel eliminating Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas leader in Tehran last July, Israel's demolition, just complete dismantlement of Hezbollah back in September, October. Why are they always surprised? Don't they know by now that when Bibi Netanyahu says never again, he means never again? After what Bibi did to Hamas and what Israel did under Bibi's leadership to Hamas and Hezbollah, why would Iran doubt? I mean, this is the reason the man assumed the prime ministership once again. That God Almighty put him in that position. He raises kings up, he knocks kings down. He raised Bibi up for such a time as this to deal with this threat. This is Bibi's legacy. Whatever happened with the Iran nuclear program was his legacy. And I argue by extension, Donald Trump's legacy as well. If Iran went nuclear on Bibi and or Trump's watch, their legacy to me would be shattered. If they passed up a golden opportunity to take out that nuclear program at a time when Iran was at its most vulnerable. I mean, look, the Ring of Fire dismantled, as I mentioned, Hamas, Hezbollah in their death throes, completely weakened. Assad gone from Syria. The Shia militias in Iraq, pretty quiet as of late. The Houthis in Yemen, yeah, they're firing missiles, but they've been thumped. And without Iranian support, they're not going to be much of a factor in the future, I believe. So the Ring of Fire largely dismantled. Iran's air defenses destroyed back in October largely when Israel struck then, and now it appears completely destroyed in the past 24 hours. And Donald Trump in office, a supportive president, a true friend. This isn't Biden-Harris. Add all those factors up and add the ultimate X factor that Iran, over the past few months, now all the intelligence is emerging, they were on the fast track to the bomb. Secretly, on the orders of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, they were secretly racing to finish the bomb. Add it all up, there was no way Israel couldn't act. And they did what they had to do. God bless them. God bless Israel. God bless the IDF. Thank you, Israel. As an American, as a Westerner, thank you for continuing to defend the West, for continuing to be the first line of defense for Western civilization. If Israel goes down, we all go down, but they ain't going down because I've read to the back of the book. Israel wins. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of peaks and valleys, a lot of valleys to go along with those peaks prophetically. But Israel right now is doing what it needs to do, doing the world a favor. But the swerve is pretty amazing. And Donald Trump this morning said, what's happening is excellent. And I quote, and he said, look, and folks, you can't, I mean, look, to me, Donald Trump comes out of this. He's a man of his word. He gave Iran 60 days. And he said on Truth Social, I gave them 60 days to give up their nuclear program, to stop enriching uranium. They refused. Today is day 61. I kept my word. I'm a man of my word. I'm giving you 60 days. If you don't give it up, we got to take harsher measures. And Israel was unleashed, and they're getting assistance from the U.S., no doubt, at least at some level, certainly in defense and intercepting incoming projectiles. But Trump kept his word here. And number two, he said, look, I tried and tried. I gave Iran 2 months. Give up the uranium, give up the nuclear program. We can have peace. I came into office to have peace, to not be getting in wars, but they can't have a bomb because they're genocidal, fanatical maniacs, and they'll use it. So I tried to get them to give it up through peaceful means. They didn't want to do it. So now we have to get a little more serious. Now, will this bring Iran crawling back to the negotiating table, these strikes? We don't know. And what comes now? Because Israel's vowing a massive response, and rightfully so. Iran's oil refineries, its economy, economic centers. I mean, we could see this regime teetering on the brink of absolute collapse. Much of their military leadership, Revolutionary Guards Corps leadership, now eliminated. If I'm Khamenei, the supreme leader, if I'm the president, Pezeshkian, I'm not resting easy tonight, needless to say. What did the Iranian people do? Bibi Netanyahu directly, specifically addressed the Iranian people today and said, this is your time. This operation, folks, that Israel's conducting, and by the way, we're just a day into it. This is going to last days, if not weeks. It's called Operation Rising Lion. Now, it's got biblical connotation. I think it's from Proverbs, talking about young people rising like lions. But the lion was the symbol on Iran's flag before this wicked regime took over in 1979. So there's symbolism there as well. Remember, modern day Iran, that was ancient Persia. It's a Bible land. Esther, Mordecai, Darius, Cyrus, all those biblical stories you know so well, they went down in Iran. Modern day Iran, ancient Persia. And by the way, the Christian population in Iran is growing by leaps and bounds, despite the relentless persecution from this wicked regime. God's not done with Iran. I want to encourage you. God is not done with Iran. Remember that. A little more here. A few more news tidbits coming out here. Israel has destroyed not only the Natanz nuclear reactor, that was a biggie for enriching uranium, also the Tabriz base in Iran. I mean, there's so much happening, folks. Military infrastructure, obviously military leaders, ballistic missile stockpiles, all destroyed. Now, Iran has sent 3 rocket barrages, by the way, towards Israeli territory. And we had, at last check, 47 Israelis wounded, 2 in critical condition. Let's check a little bit more here. Bear with me. I mean, there's so much information from so many sources coming out. It's hard to keep track, but we're trying. Wow. Let's see. Bear with me. Okay. I want to get you the most up-to-date info. And the latest we have is Iran licking its wounds. Israel's not done. And the brave Israeli fighter pilots. And by the way, this has to be mentioned. This is deeper than, let's see. The Americans might join in. There's continued rumblings that the U.S. may join in. They're helping Israel intercept these incoming Iranian missiles and drones, but they may join in an offensive capacity. The Trump administration may say, again, this is it. We want to destroy this nuclear program completely. And if we're helping Israel with our powerful bunker busters, we might just be able to do it. But this is something else you should know. this attack, yes, it's by air, but also seems to be, at least in part, maybe by sea. And that would make sense because we talked earlier this week on a live stream about that Israeli attack with missile boats in Yemen, long range. Was that a dry run for what we're seeing right now in Iran? We absolutely know, and this, maybe there'll be a movie made about this. There was an Israeli team on the ground inside Tehran, the Iranian capital, which unleashed drones at the start of this operation, which wreaked a lot of havoc in Tehran against sensitive Iranian military sites. I mean, Israel's intelligence, and this is one of the big untold stories, right? Israel's intel, its on-the-ground intelligence in Iran is absolutely astounding. The level they have of on-the-ground assets and intelligence in Iran, not only the Iranian people, Iranian dissidents working for Israel, but undercover Mossad operatives in Iran. Hey, this isn't the first incredible, improbable operation Israel has carried out in Iran over the past several years, really. So Israel had assets in place on the ground. So this is certainly by air, by land, perhaps by sea. And I'm sure as more details come out, there had to be cyber components here as well in the run-up to this. But the big story is just the swerve, I think, and how the Iranian regime was caught completely unaware. They didn't know this was coming. Now they're unleashing now and they're retaliating, which we knew they would, but Israel will weather the storm. And I believe Iran's going to limp out of this. I don't know if the regime is intact at the end of this. Now, what does that mean prophetically? And we touched on this last night as we wrap up here. It seems to me, we talk a lot about Ezekiel 38 and 39, that war of Gog and Magog. Funny name, I know, but check your Bible. Check the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39. Persia, modern-day Iran, is named among the nations, explicitly named among the nations that come against Israel in, quote, the latter days, the last days. So is this a war of revenge for Iran? Because Iran's going to come out of this in very bad shape. And I don't know if the regime survives or what, I don't know. There's going to be some hostile force in Iran, it seems, according to Ezekiel, that still comes against Israel. Maybe it's another regime. I pray for freedom in Iran, for the Iranian people to rise up. But it seems prophetically that Persia will have a role in that Ezekiel invasion force for sure. Do they see this as a war of revenge? Number one. And number two, they may just be a junior partner in this. If they're thumped and as weakened as I think they're going to end up after the dust settles here, whether it's days or weeks, they'll probably be just a junior partner, the Iranian regime or Iran, whoever's leading Iran, in that coalition. But I pray for now for this regime to be toppled, for freedom in Iran, for the great Iranian people. That's a prayer in the short term, and seems to be a unique opportunity for that as well, right, where we are right now. But wow, a lot of information coming out. I mean, breaking, it's 4:33 here in Texas, past midnight in Israel now, and I need to run and go host some live programming on TV. YouTube, my incredible audience here, but I also do the broadcast end of things on TBN. And hey, if you have TBN, and you should, it's on every cable provider in America. And if you're overseas, just go to tbn.org, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time until 9 p.m. Eastern time. We are going live. We're going to have incredible insights, analysis with incredible guests from on the ground in Israel. You will not want to miss that, folks. Believe me. Whew. Until next time, I'm sure it'll be tomorrow. Stay with us. Remember, subscribe, get those updates. We'll be coming to you probably every day for many days to come as this unfolds. But keep it all in prayer. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem now more than ever, for God's guiding hand, his hand of protection over Israel, the people of Israel, the IDF. We're in Bible times. Fasten your seatbelts. Be encouraged. Until next time, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.